What is up, Unison Gamers? This is Michael Sean. I am back with another deck profile. Now, if you didn't watch my last video, you may not know that I've got this project going on right now. We're trying to make Pokemon decks. They're starter decks, but not like what you can buy sealed. These are starter decks that have the trainer cards that you need to actually play the game. So while we're not using EXs, we may not be using totally meta decks, we are using enough support in these decks to actually functionally play a game and even win a couple games at your first couple of local tournaments. So these decks are for people that are going to be playing in my store, but I figured I'd pass them along as well to YouTube in case you want to get started. These are great places to get started. Now, that being said, the last video that we did was Ethan's Typhlosion, which is a much easier deck to play than this one. I would say this deck is a little complicated because there's several attackers, and so this is for people that want to step up a little bit. This deck is a lot like solving a puzzle. You need a couple different pieces. So, for instance, our main attacker here is usually going to be Dipplin, although Seaking works very similar. Both of these have the ability called Festival Lead, which means that if you have Festival Grounds in play, which is a stadium card, and stadium cards are kind of hard to search for in this game, so just keep that in mind. Festival Grounds, if it's out, lets Dipplin and Seaking attack 2 times in a row. So normally you obviously can only attack once and attacking ends your turn, but if you got the Festival Grounds and you're attacking with something with Festival Lead, you get to attack again, which is pretty cool. So they don't do a ton of damage. Dipplin has Do the Wave, which is actually an attack that we've had in the game for a very long time, since I think the second set of the game. It was on a Wigglytuff back in the day, and you can basically just do 20 damage per Pokemon on your bench. Usually you can have up to 5 Pokemon on your bench. So you're looking at 100 damage, but when you can attack twice, that's 200 damage, which starts to knock out a lot of stuff. Combine that with some damage modifiers like Brave Bangle and Maximum Belt. Now you're actually able to knock out big Pokemon EXs with that damage output, and that's why we're playing Brave Bangle and Maximum Belt. Brave Bangle does plus 30 to all EXs. Maximum Belt does plus 50 to all EXs. So you've got both of those damage modifiers to go on your Dipplin. You can be hitting 150 damage twice. That's 300 damage, which is knocking out a bunch of stuff in the game right now. So that's pretty cool. Seaking also really neat attack. Rapid, what is it? Rapid attack? I think it's called rapid attack. I can't see because there's just 2 right here. 60 damage, draw 2 cards. So yes, that means that if you attack twice right in a row with Seaking, you're going to be drawing 4 cards. Pretty solid. Pretty solid attack. Again, combined with a max belt, that 60 goes up to 110, which goes up to 220, which, if you've been playing the game, if you've been doing some research, there's actually a bunch of support EXs that have less than 220 HP. So we're thinking like Pheasantipity with 210, for instance. Mew has 180. So some of these more prolific Pokemon that you're going to be seeing a lot, you can actually not only knock them out with Seaking, attacking twice, but you could also draw 4 cards to set you up for next turn. Pretty solid card. Sometimes you're going to run into this situation where you've got to clean up a Pokemon, you've done some damage to it, and you got to hit big numbers. That's what Flapple is in there for. I see people play this deck sometimes. It's a deck that since it came out, it's gimmicky, it's fun. People like playing it. The problem is that I like almost never see this card. This card is so good. With Acidic Spit for 1 energy, you do 20 times the amount of damage counters that's already on your Pokemon. So a damage counter represents 10 damage in this game. So if a Pokemon, say, has 60 damage on it, you're going to do 20 damage times 60. So that's pretty solid. You're doing 120 damage for 1 energy. But it ramps up from there. Let's say a Dipplin hit it with 100 damage, right? That means Flapple's going to come back and do 200 damage. Now you're hitting 300 with Flapple. It does not have Festival Lead. You can only attack with it once, but it's a really great attack to clean up some Pokemon later on. Now, one of the reasons that I think this deck is pretty solid is this Thwackey right here. Thwackey has an ability called Boom Boom Groove. If you have a Festival Lead Pokemon in the front, so if Dipplin, Seaking, or Goldeen are in the active spot, Thwackey gets to search the deck for any 1 card, which is really solid. Any card. This is how you get your stadium out. This is how you evolve your Pokemon. This is how you find a supporter every turn. All that stuff, really essential to try to set up 2 Thwackeys every single game. We've got Shaymin, which protects the bench, which is very important. Keep in mind, Shaymin only blocks damage, not damage counter placement. So things like Dragapult, Monkey Dory, stuff like that, still going to be placing damage counters, but it does stop damage done to the bench by things like Grimmsnarl, which does 30 damage to the bench. And then one of the great things about this is that you're playing grass Pokemon, so we've got a grass Pokemon searcher, but we're obviously going to be playing a Budew. In fact, the way that this deck plays, you want to go second, you want to attack with Budew every single game. On turn 1. Budew just helps slow down your opponent enough for you to get set up. We're dealing with a lot of evolving Pokemon here. We've got to get our Thwackies up. That's going to help us get there, is this Budew. So we've got 4 Applins, which evolve into our 3 Dipplins or 1 Flapple. We've got the 1 Budew. We've got a 3/3 line of Grookey Thwackey. We've got the 1 Shaymin. We've got a 2/2 of Goldeen Seaking. Goldeen is really important because it's a basic Pokemon that has Festival Lead. Seaking and Dipplin have to evolve. So this Goldeen is really important. It might be holding Air Balloon just to get in and out of the active to turn on our Thwackies. Of course, we're going to run 4 Festival Grounds. We have to. That's the only way that we can actually get these attacks off twice, so we need to run that. Arven's going to be our primary supporter. It's going to find us tools and items. The items are going to help us get it set up. The Brave Bangle and Max Belt, they need to be found at the critical time, and so those are really important. Iono is going to do +2. Sometimes you've already used these and you need more damage modification. I've seen some lists run more Brave Bangles, but I actually think the correct answer is Kieran. Kieran's a supporter card that allows your Pokemon to hit 4 + 30. The cool thing about Kieran is you can use it in conjunction with one of these tools as well. So maybe you need to take a big knockout. You got to knock out like a Gardevoir or something. Maybe you can't find the Max Belt, but you can find the Brave Bangle and you just need that extra damage. Kieran can be used in conjunction with that, which is really cool. You searched off the Thwackey, you use it. Also, in a pinch, you can use it as a switch. We've got 2 Boss's Orders and we've got 2 Counter Catchers. These are going to be really important for taking your key knockouts. Anytime you're playing a 1-prize deck, you need to make sure that you get ahead. Sometimes you're behind on prizes, and you got to get ahead. And so the way to do that is by taking key knockouts, often on our support Pokemon. Also, sometimes you got to stop them from setting up. And the way to do that is Budew in conjunction with a key knockout with a counter catcher or a Boss's Orders. And so we're running 4 different cards that help us with Gust, which means dragging your opponent's Pokemon off the bench into the active spot. So we get two different cards that are going to do that. 4 total cards in the deck. Night Stretcher, just a busted card, staple in every deck. You get an energy or a Pokemon back from your discard pile. This is really key because your guys are going to get knocked out. They don't have a lot of HP. Dipplin's got 80, Thwacky's got 100. Your biggest Pokemon is Seaking with a mere 110 HP. Your stuff's going to get knocked out. You got to keep making new Pokemon every turn. Night Stretcher helps with that. Super Rod helps get him back into the deck as well. We've got a 2 line of that, very important. 4 Buddy-Buddy Poffins. Every single Pokemon in this deck, other than Shaymin, is searchable off Buddy-Buddy Poffin. So that's going to be our primary search. We're not even playing Nest Balls because we just don't need it. We do have 3 Ultra Balls just in case. Sometimes what you need just to get that Dipplin, or especially Seaking. That's the only card in our deck that searches Seaking out, except for Thwackey. One really cool thing about this deck is that you can play Bug Catching Set, which is an absolutely broken card, but for whatever reason, the Pokemon Company hates grass types, and there's often not good grass type attackers in the meta, like ever, and it frustrates me because I love grass types. But Bug Catching Set is a good support card for grass decks. You top 7, search your deck, top 7 cards for grass Pokemon or grass energy. Super huge. That's why we don't play Earthen Vessel in this deck, which is really popular in other decks. Bug Catching Set should be finding one of our 7 grass energies or one of our grass Pokemon. You can find Dipplin and Thwackey off of that too, because it doesn't say basic grass Pokemon, it's any grass Pokemon. I mentioned that Goldeen is a basic that has Festival Lead, but what I noticed was sometimes it was getting stuck, and you might have needed to Air Balloon and switch into something in the same turn. So I started running the 1 switch, which I like. It just is helpful to get your guys out. Also, Gusting Thwackey is really good against this deck because it has a 2 retreat cost. We've got the Air Balloon, but maybe we only have 1, so you can only attach it to 1 thing. Sometimes that switch really comes in handy. So that's the idea. That's what we're attacking with. We're just looking to attack twice in the same turn and take key knockouts on our opponent's big stuff to win the game. We don't play any 2-prizers. That's kind of the whole point of these starter decks. There's no 2-prizers in them, and so we're forcing our Pokemon to take big knockouts and or small knockouts while we take big knockouts. So they've got to kill 6 of our things. We only have to kill potentially 3 of theirs. And so we're looking pretty good with the prize trade if we can continue to set up. And that's the difficulty. We got to keep getting set up. But that's why we're running 4, 8, 11 cards that search Pokemon, as well as a thick line of supporters. We've got 4, 6, 7, 8, 9 supporter cards, and of course Thwackey searches all of that out. And so we're hoping that we can just get ourselves set up and stay in the game. So we're going to get into some games after this deck profile, so be sure to watch the next video as we hopefully play against some cool decks, including ones that you might see in your first couple tournaments.